I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stress, shield my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no given. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. They don't wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me. Elevating, got them nauseous. Cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving ain't the option. Woo! Watch out, get ahead. Watch out, get ahead. Watch out, get ahead.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC Vegas 63. We have Calvin Kattar going against Arnold Allen. We have an 11-fight card. I feel like this card is going to absolutely deliver from a fan standpoint. I think we have some very fun fights on this card to watch this Saturday. But from a betting perspective, to be honest, I really don't like this card that much. I think there's a lot of sketchy fights, a lot of sketchy fighters. I mean, Khalil Roundtree, I mean, it doesn't get more sketchier than him. Jared Vandermeer is a very sketchy fighter to bet on. You have Marcus Rogerio de Lima, who's dropped the ball before. We have Phil Hawes and Roma Delidze, both very unreliable. I feel like this card has a ton of traps everywhere. So I'm going to keep it light. I had 0 bets up until like Thursday, which is unusual for me, but I ended up with 6 bets. I'm sticking with those 6. 4 out of those 6 are plus money, taking a dog shot as well. So yeah, I do like the spots that I do have. So we'll see if we can make some money this Saturday. But as a whole, I am treading pretty lightly on this one. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It is much appreciated. We'll keep growing the channel here going into 2023 next year. Was hoping to get 20,000 subs by the end of the year, but we have a long way to go. So if you're not subscribed, be sure to do that. I do want to shout out the sponsor of the show. We got Verdict Tournament. Shout out to Verdict. I'm sure the majority of you have heard of Verdict MMA, but have you heard of Verdict Tournaments? Verdict is built and based on the fight outcome. You don't have to worry about how many strikes are landed, how many takedowns a fighter gets. You pick the winner, the method, and the round. Compete against others to win cash prizes, and you can enter up until the start of the co-main event. You don't have to get it up until 4 o'clock tomorrow Eastern. You can wait till the co-main event if you need to do so. Download the Verdict app, go to tournaments, and try it out. This is a brand new look at daily fantasy sports, and it is built for MMA fans. Shout out to Verdict MMA, but shout out to the chat as well. Let's see who is all in the chat here on a Friday. We got the first one in the building. We got Matt. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Saying, yeah. We got Propaholic. What is up, Propaholic? Hopefully looking for some violence this Saturday. We got Tony in the chat. He's saying, what's up, Brady? Let's stack some winning tickets. I really like the card now that the new fights were added earlier in the week. I mean, yeah, it was going to be a 9-fight card, but luckily Cody Durden was able to find a new opponent in Carlos Mota, and then Christian Rodriguez was able to find a new opponent in Joshua Weems. So that definitely did save the card. We got the man himself, Mushroom. What's up, Brady? One more sleep and one more lunch until violence. I did do my own Mushroom challenge on Twitter today, and Mushroom has me beat by a mile. I still have a ton of work to do in terms of getting my lunches up to par with Mushroom, but shout out to Mushroom. We got Sean in the chat as well. We got Jan in the chat. Mushroom saying it's time. We got Boris in the chat. What is up, Boris? Ian, hopefully I pronounced it right. Ian saying, what is up, Brady? What is up to you as well? We got Voodoo saying, sup, Brady, tough card. I think it's a tough card from a betting perspective. I really do. Again, a lot of untrustworthy fighters you just don't really want to put your money on or trust here. Sean saying, let's go, Brady. We got Pink saying a sprinkle bet card. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Carlos Mota by murder. Potentially the guy is serious, I think. I'm glad he's getting into the UFC, short notice or not. And this is a winnable matchup, and the line does indicate that. We got Jason in the chat. What is up, Brady? What is up, Jason? Prince of Mischief. We got Hag saying, yo, Brady, I'm only just getting to the tape now. Late, so I'll be happy to hear your thoughts. Got 4 or 5 lanes. We'll see if we line up Hag. Not the best card in the world from like a name standpoint, but in terms of like a fan standpoint, I feel like it's going to be a fun night of fights for sure. We got Ace and Brady. What is up, Ace? And we got Suvari. We got Wes. What is up, guys? All right, let's get into it. Again, if you have not smashed the like button, please smash it. It does go a long, long way. This bout order may or may not be correct. I think it's a little bit out of order, but we'll go with it. We have Carlos Mota going against Cody Durden. And we have Mota minus 160 and Durden is plus 140. So Mota did open up as a plus 125 dog. That did not last at all. I mean, he got smashed like minus 180. So if you got in on that plus money on Mota, congrats to you. You did your job for sure. I'm going to pick Mota to win this fight, but I just don't want to lay this price tag on him. I feel like, Mota is the real deal, but I feel like we're counting out Durden a little bit. Like Durden's a good fighter. He does a lot of good things, solid striking, solid power on the feet, wrestling background. The cardio is always an issue for Durden. The submission defense is always an issue for Durden, but I feel like this could play out competitively. But yeah, I really like what I see from Mota. The guy looks to be in great shape for coming in on short notice. And, we got to remind ourselves that Durden's coming in on somewhat short notice as well. So I don't think the short notice aspect of things for Mota is going to be a huge issue here. And, how these guys match up, Mota, I think, is going to have the striking advantage. I have seen Mota taken down here or there, but he has a black belt in BJJ. I like his scrambling ability. Is really hard to take down, really hard to hold down. And I feel like as the fight goes on, I just trust Mota more with that cardio. We have seen Mota slow down before, but that was against Charles Johnson in a 5-round fight. He looked very tired in that 4th, and Charles Johnson was able to finish him in the 5th, but this is a 3-round fight. So whereas I have seen Cody Durden slow down in like the 2nd round, like the 3rd round before. So I do ever so slightly lean Mota. I think the line, like right where it's at, seems about right to me. Like Mota minus 150, minus 160. But yeah, that opener was nuts, right? Plus 125 Mota was ridiculous, but I'm going to pass on this one from a betting perspective. Should be a fun fight, though. Should be a very fun fight to kick off the card. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind both sides. I'm more so on the Mota side myself. The guy hits very hard. BJJ black belt. Durden has been finished in 3 of 4 losses. 3 by submission, which is interesting because Mota has 0 submissions on his record, but he's a BJJ black belt, so maybe Mota can get that first sub. I'm curious to see where they did put that sub. Mota by sub, plus 1,100. I see a plus 1,200. I mean, that could be something to look at, but again, he's never submitted anybody, so I don't know. Passing here, the pick is Mota, and I don't mind both sides on DraftKings. What is up, Zach? How you doing? Mota round 3 KO, FanDuel plus 1,500, definitely worth a little sprinkle. Even like the round 3 in general could be worth a sprinkle because yeah, Durden does slow down. Durden is 7,700 on DK. Yep, and I think he's an intriguing dog. I don't think he's going to be too high owned. There are some other dogs that like more, but he's definitely in play. Mota inside the distance, I could see it. Was it plus 125? The only thing is Durden has never been knocked out, and Mota has no submissions, and Mota has only finished half of his wins. So I would need a little bit better of a price. And honestly, I was looking for like the under 2.5 and the fight doesn't go to decision. I think it makes a lot of sense, but the odds makers are all over it. Minus 170 for the fight doesn't go. So you were laying it there for sure in a flyweight fight. So I think I'm going to pass on this fight. Durden has a chin, not been knocked out as a pro. Exactly. Have seen him hurt before, but yeah, he's never been knocked out. SD liking the upset with codes. No shame in that. It's a close fight. I think it's going to be a close fight. Saptic and Manpreet are high on the under 2.5, and Durden and Mota, yeah, I would lean that way as well. Just don't like the price on it. I would have liked a better price. I think I saw it at like, let me double check here. The under 2.5 rounds is like minus 150, minus 156. I'm okay on that. Rodriguez versus Weems is kicking off the card. Yeah, like I said, the bout order is probably a little bit off, but it's close-ish, which is close enough. They've been switching around the bout order all week. We had the late replacement, so it's kind of hard to keep up with all of it. But we'll move on to the next fight. We have Christian Rodriguez going against Joshua Weems. And I do have a bet on this one, and it is a line that is still available. And I'm kind of surprised this line is still available on this book, and we'll kind of get into it here. So I have Christian Rodriguez to win inside the distance. I got it at plus 106 for 1 unit. And looks like DraftKings Sportsbook is still hanging a plus number out there at plus 100. and I can refresh to see if it's there, and it is not showing up now, but I'm pretty sure it's there. I just checked like a second ago. Let me double check here for you guys. That plus 100 is still there. And it's weird because on Bet Online, it's sitting at minus 155. So Rodriguez is like minus 400 on some books, minus 410. And the guy's, he's a finisher. I mean, he's finished all but one of his wins. He has a lot of submissions on his record, a lot of knockouts. And you take a look at Joshua Weems. Joshua Weems is a killer be killed fighter. Weems has been finishing all of his losses. He's went to decision once in his career. He's coming in on short notice. He missed weight. He didn't look in the best shape. I think Rodriguez knocks this guy out. I think it's a tough match for Joshua Weems here. Joshua Weems is a guy that's typically looking to get the fight down to the mat, whether it's him getting the takedowns, and I don't think he has the best wrestling, or in a lot of his fights, it's actually his opponents out wrestling him, taking him down, and it's him getting submissions off his back. I just don't think that's going to be the case here in this fight against Rodriguez, who's very hard to take down. And I don't think Weems has the wrestling to get it down to the mat here. I think Weems is going to be forced to stand and strike with Rodriguez. And if he does that, I think he's in some serious trouble. Rodriguez's striking is no joke. He has a really good pressure, really good volume, and he breaks guys. And I kind of think he breaks Weems here. A big red flag for me on the Joshua Weems side is he got knocked out by Fernie Garcia on the Contender Series in about 2 minutes. And that was Fernie Garcia's first ever knockout and only ever knockout win ever was against Joshua Weems. So if Fernie Garcia is knocking you out, I feel like Christian Rodriguez is very live to knock him out. And honestly, it probably could be early as well. I think it's a very tough matchup for Joshua Weems. If it's not early, it'll be late. I think Rodriguez breaks Weems. And instead of laying minus 400, minus 410 on Rodriguez, I don't mind the inside the distance at plus 100. That number really does surprise me. So give me Rodriguez inside the distance, 1 unit. And I like that play a decent amount rather than laying the money line or parlaying up Rodriguez. Propaholic on it. Yeah, I see a lot of people starting to get on it, and the line still has not moved, which is interesting because it's a great line. I mean, the guy's 80% to win the fight. You got to think, he knocks out this killer be killed fighter in Weems. Mushroom on the violence as well. Rodriguez inside the distance. Yeah, Brady violence. Yeah, I like it. That's why I put a full unit on it. And that was even before seeing Weems on the scale as well. Weems looked like crap on the scale, and so the distance looks great for Rodriguez. Yeah, I didn't think it looked great. I didn't think he killed himself to make the weight, but he just didn't look in the best shape, which is expected. He's taken the fight on super short notice. Weems didn't look confident to me at the face-offs either. Weems missed weight bad. Yeah, I think he missed weight. What did he come in? Like 3.5 pounds over? It was a bunch. Just no value on the money line for Rod. Yeah, I agree. There's not. I feel like we could be overrating him a little bit in a loss against JSP, but stylistically, I think it's a really good matchup for him here. And he opened up minus 160. So shout out to whoever got on that minus 160 for Rodriguez. That's wild. Rodriguez and Fabian Edwards. Bellator is my core parlay piece. Yeah, don't mind that parlay there. I do not have any parlays this week though. But we can move on, guys. All right. We have Phil Hawes going against Roman Dolidze. A fight where I just don't trust either of these guys. You always have to question the fight IQ of Roman Dolidze making multiple questionable decisions in the cage against John Alon. Some questionable decisions there, rolling for the leg against Trevin Giles. Just a ton of mistakes in that fight. Losing to Trevin Giles is a bad look. And then you got Phil Hawes, who I think has all the talent in the world. But the problem with Phil Hawes is 3 things. The first thing is the chin. The chin is very questionable. He gets hurt a lot. He's been knocked out a lot. He's been finishing all of his losses. So the chin is scary here against Roman Dolidze, who doesn't have a ton of volume, but when he lands hard. The next thing that scares me with Phil Hawes, and this is something that he's been working on, and that's his cardio. And I think his cardio has looked better. Like, it looked much better in the Imavov fight, but even then it was kind of iffy in that 3rd round. It looked better on the Dawkins fight. And it looked good in the Win fight where he completely beat the crap out of Win and he wasn't looking to slow down really at all. So I think that he's working on that cardio and that's improving. And then the third thing, I just can't get to Phil Hawes because that hairstyle, that hair, like what is he doing with that blonde hair? But outside of that, he's a phenomenal fighter. I like this guy a lot. I think he has a very good skill set, tons of volume. The striking looks best ever for Phil Hawes. He has that wrestling background. Again, the cardio's looking better. It's just the chin. Like, I think he wins this fight, but could I see Roman Dolidze landing a big shot and knocking him out? Yeah, Roman Dolidze knocked out Kyle Dawkins, who's tough as nails in his last fight, and he did it in the first round. So this is a fight where I think Hawes should absolutely be favored, but do I want to lay money on him when there's a very good chance that Dolidze at some point in this fight could go out there and land a big shot? So again, two fighters that I just can't really trust. So I'm just staying away. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind both sides. I think Hawes can go out there, push a pace, land a ton of strikes. 8,400, I like that price. And then on the flip side, Roman Dolidze, 7,800. If he wins, it's by finish. So I don't mind both sides. There's a couple fights on this card where I think both sides are heavily in play at these price tags. And the Phil Hawes, Roman Dolidze fight is absolutely one. The Mota, Durden fight is absolutely another one. Even like the friend Gore fight, I think is a good fight to target. The Jacoby Roundtree, lots of good fights to target on DraftKings. And by the way, Christian Rodriguez at 9,400 on DraftKings. Didn't really talk about it, but I do like Rodriguez quite a bit. He's my highest owned fighter on DraftKings at 9,400 there. But yeah, give me a Phil Hawes for the win. But yeah, not touching this fight. Probaholic saying took 2 sprinkles here. Roman by second round sub plus 3,500. In the third round sub plus 5,000. If you hit one of those, that'll be legendary. But we'll see. Like, I think the late finishes are live for Dolidze because Hawes has slowed down and the durability is questionable. I think Dolidze can finish him. Yeah, it's on the table. It's on the table, absolutely. Hawes decision or Dolidze by adultery. Goodness, mushroom. That's kind of how I see it as well, though. Hawes decision, because I don't know if he's knocking out or finishing a very durable Roman Dolidze. Like I think you were saying earlier in the week, mushroom. The only person to finish Roman Dolidze has been Cheyenne Vlismas at this point. Just a very durable fighter. Or Dolidze by finish, I would say, would be the other outcome. So I don't mind the finish only for Dolidze, but I don't know. Hawes is a dangerous guy. We got Zayed in the chat. Brady, what is up? Always wait for your show on Friday. Appreciate you hanging out, Zayed. And also Zayed with a very generous donation, the $10 super sticker. Appreciate you for the donation and appreciate you hanging out. Most importantly, shout out to Zayed there. We got Buffo on the beat saying, sup, Brady. What is up, Buffo? How you doing? We got Propaholic saying, telling you right now, Roman by second round heel hook. We will see if you get that right. That'll be a legendary call. Based on the DraftKings price, Dolidze in that 7K range is needed. Yeah, I don't mind some shots on him. Brady, if Dolidze and Hawes goes to decision, do you think they're in the optimal? I think if Hawes is the winner, yes. If Dolidze is the winner, no. Dolidze's very low volume, low activity. But Hawes on the flip side, the guy just went out there and landed 118 strikes on Duran win in like 9 minutes. So I'll say it has a good chance to, especially if Hawes does win that decision. All right, we'll move on, guys. We have Jung Young Park going against Joseph Holmes. Another fight where I just don't really want anything to do with it. I think the line makes a lot of sense. I think you should go out here and favor Park. He's fought the much better competition. I think he has more ways to win. Another spot where there's a couple fights on this card where I don't mind the finish only for Joseph Holmes, being he has a 100% finish rate, has never won a decision. On the flip side, you have Jung Young Park, who is a decisionator, 4 wins in the UFC, all 4 by decision, including a decision win against John Phillips. If you're not finishing John Phillips, can't really trust you to really finish anybody. So I don't mind the finish only for Holmes, but outside of that, just nothing really sticking out. I'll say Park outpoints Joseph Holmes on the feet. I love Park striking his volume. I'll say Park can mix in some takedowns here or there. I like the cardio of Park, especially. We have seen Holmes slow down before, but Holmes is going to have a big height and reach advantage, which is definitely a little scary there. But Park, I think, is the better fighter. He's fought the much better competition. I think he should go out here and win this decision. But nothing I'm super confident in. I guess the third round decision prop for Park was something that enticed me a little bit, but nothing I'm really running to the window for. So another pass here. The pick is Park. And from a DraftKings perspective, I'm not touching Park at 9,300. I think there's many better options. Like, I'd rather go up and get Christian Rodriguez. I'd rather go down and get Waldo. I'd rather go down and get like a De Lima, a Chase Hooper. So I'm not touching Park on DraftKings, but I don't mind Joseph Holmes as a pump play on DraftKings. 6,900. The guy has a 100% finish rate. He's going to have a size advantage, and he does hit hard, and he does have a sneaky submission game as well. And Park has been subbed twice and knocked out once. So from a DraftKings perspective, it is a for sure dog or pass situation with Joseph Holmes. But from a betting perspective, it's nothing for me outside of like the finish only for Holmes. But even that, it's like plus 120. I think it maybe saw plus 130. Nothing. I'm just completely excited to go and bet. So I'm going to stay away from this fight as well. Give me a Park for the decision win. Zach saying thank you for the blow. Muhammad call last week. Yeah, that one felt good. Didn't get a ton right last week, but that one felt good, including the main event ending inside the distance. Would have had a winning night if Petr Yan got the nod against Sean O'Malley. So close. Was a close fight. But yeah, that Muhammad fight call or bet did feel good because I was going against the grain on that one. And I will be going against the grain on another underdog this week as well, which we'll see if I can hit 2 in a row. Let's see what we got in here. We got Andre saying, hi, Brady. Good to be on your show. How about Park fighting Holmes, who has 6 sub wins? Should be concerned about it. Is this one going to the ground mostly? I could see it going to the ground. And yeah, what is Holmes by sub? Oh, it's only plus 600. But yeah, I think sub could potentially happen, but we'll have to see. And then I would absolutely skip that fight, not touching. I'm not touching it as well. Has Park ever fought someone this big before? I don't think so. I mean, we could take a look. So Park, he fought Eric Anders. He's kind of big. He's not that. He's like 6'1". Greg Rodriguez is like 6'3", so that's probably the closest. 6'3", Greg Rodriguez. Stefan, he's like 5'11". John Phillips, he's like 5'11". Marc-Andre Barrio, he's 6'1". So, and then Fluffy is like probably 6'1", 6 foot. So no, he will be the tallest fighter he's fought ever. And like the second closest was Rodriguez at 6'3". But yeah, Holmes is like 6'4". He's huge. Yeah, Eric Anders is a big dude. Bilal, remember the money train? Yeah, that was freaking awesome. Delidzi is so big. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh yeah, he did look really big at weigh-ins. That is for sure. See if I missed anything in the chat. Buffalo saying, I feel like Parker's going to be low owned. It might be the pivot. How many times has he scored over 100 DraftKings points? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can pull them up. It was weird. There was a fight with John Phillips where the guy landed like almost 300 strikes on the guy, but it was at the time when they weren't counting strikes. They only counted significant strikes. So Park literally put up a terrible performance on DraftKings, which was just terrible. I mean, never mind. So he scored 127. I guess this was with the new scoring system. He scored 127 against Phillips, but that is with the new scoring system, I believe. Yeah, which it counted 260 strikes. But back then, when the fight happened, they counted none of those strikes ever on the mat. So he did not score 127 that night. He scored I think 70 or 80, which was disappointing. But with the new scoring system, he has scored over 100 just once in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights. So just once there. It's a heavy price. It's a hefty price tag to pay at 9,300 there. He does have some good fight IQ there. Absolutely, he'll be very, very low owned because you have so many other good options up there. When Holmes fought Imedovsky, his inside the distance was plus 230. Yeah, I had to have been on the fight doesn't go on that. It was an Imedovsky fight, so I had to been on the violence there. But yeah, Holmes inside the distance was a great look that night. Okay, we do have over 100 of you in here on a Friday. Thank you guys so much for hanging in here. We have a decent amount more fights to go. So leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We do want to remind you guys I'll be live tomorrow, 1 hour prior to the prelims for best bets. So check me out then. But we have Chase Hooper going against Steve Garcia. And I do have a bet here, a small bet. There's no way I would touch this Chase Hooper money line at minus 310. It's getting a little ridiculous at this point. I think he has potentially turned a corner in his career. I mean, he looked career best in his last fight. And we got to remember, guys, he's only 23 years old. So we're going to see massive improvements from Chase Hooper each and every time. And we did in his last fight against Felipe Calores. That was the best Hooper's ever looked. And I thought even in the Peterson fight, I had a bet on Steven Peterson. But he showed some good things in that fight. I think he got a couple takedowns, so his wrestling's improving, his striking's improving. And if he can keep improving that striking, that wrestling, I mean, he could be a very dangerous fighter. And again, he's only 23 years old. So the bet I do have here is Chase Hooper to win inside the distance at plus 100. I have a half a unit on it. It has moved a little bit. It's still like minus 105, minus 110. The reason being is he's a minus 300 favorite. And if he's having success in this fight, it probably means he's getting the fight down to the mat. And if he's getting the fight down to the mat, there's a very high likelihood I think he finishes the fight. Whether it's a TKO, he has vicious ground and pound, or whether it's a submission. Garcia has been submitted before. He has been knocked out. And Hooper, just in his last fight against Kalorish, like finishing Felipe Kalorish is not easy. Kalorish is not the best fighter in the world, but what he's known for is that legendary toughness. And just to see him go out there and just style on him and eventually get him out of there with strikes, the ref had to step in. Like, that was very impressive to me. I think Kalorish is much tougher than a guy like Steve Garcia, who's getting dropped by, Charlie Ontiveros, who's getting dropped and knocked out against Mahashate. I think if Hooper gets on top, he very well can pound him out. If Hooper's not able to get this fight down to the mat, Garcia is going to be very live, obviously, but I just feel like Hooper gets it down to the mat one way or another, whether he does get a takedown, whether he does, pull guard, whether he does take the back standing. So I think he does hit the mat, and once it does, it's Hooper's world. I think he finishes Steve Garcia here. So half a unit shot, plus 100 on Hooper to win inside the distance. Don't really have much interest on Garcia on DraftKings at 7,000, but I do like Hooper at 9,200 just because of the upside. He scored like 140 or something in his last fight against Felipe Kalorish. And I think he can potentially do that here again in a win. So I do like Chase Hooper on DraftKings. I do like Chase Hooper inside the distance. The money line is it's really wide. That's why I'd much rather go with that plus money or even money or close to even money, a play on the inside the distance there. Garcia's chin is hilarious. Yeah, it's not good. It is not good at all. I mean, if you're getting dropped by Charlie Ontiveros, something's wrong. Probaholic saying the fight to end in KO plus 215. Yeah, I personally am picking a Chase Hooper TKO victory. What is up, Andy? How you doing? Large saying, now that he is cutting more weight, Steve Garcia is the chinniest fighter pound for pound. No, that goes to Jason Witt. Unless Jason Witt is cut. But he's up there. He's definitely up there. Probably top 10 chinniest for sure. Don't disrespect Jason Witt like that. Jason Witt's chin is horrendous. I mean, the guy's been knocked out 8 times. Tony saying chased by sub. Garcia gives up way too much control on the ground. Yeah, violent, non-violent. Bob Ross was able to control him 14 minutes and 2 seconds. I think Chase Hooper is much more violent than non-violent Bob Ross. Andre saying, I have Hooper by sub, but man, can't Garcia turn the table here and finish him with a KO? I don't know. I don't really think so. Because Chase Hooper has like a brick for a head. I mean, this guy can take a shot. So could Garcia finish him? Maybe, but Chase Hooper's toughness is legit. You're a bit unconcerned. You're a bit uncertain about the outcome here. Yeah, I mean, could Garcia knock him out? Maybe, but I do trust the toughness of Chase Hooper. Brady, watch Hooper pull a Makayev. Yeah, Hooper's done that before, though. Hooper has went out there and pulled a Makayev. He had that 3rd round finish against slippery Pete Barrett. In a fight where, honestly, he could have been losing that fight. It was close. And then he had a late 3rd round finish against Felipe Kalor. So he has finished 2 of 3 of his opponents. Wait, he had actually finished all 3 of his wins in the UFC. And then 2 of those 3 came late 3rd round. And yeah, Hooper does have a very good chin. Appreciate you, Bob. On the same game parlay, Hooper under 2.5 and to win. I think it's a solid look. The only concern, Prince, would be that 2 of his wins have hit the over. But yeah, I think he could finish him earlier than that. All right, we'll keep moving on. We have Marcos Rogeri de Lima going against Andre Arlovski. We have de Lima minus 250. Arlovski is plus 210. And I do have a bet here. There's a couple spots to stick out, but the bet I did go with was the under 2.5 rounds here, plus 136 for 1 unit. The reason being is This fight could go to decision, I suppose, but this line just makes no sense. You got to look at it this way. Marcus Rogerio de Lima is a massive favorite. He's minus 245, minus 250, minus 240. So the odds makers are saying Marcus Rogerio de Lima has a very good chance to win this fight. And you got to think if de Lima is winning this fight, there's a really good chance it's inside the distance. De Lima's finished 6 of his 8 wins. 5 of those? No, I think 5 of those in the first round. This guy is a finisher. He has a ton of power. And Arlovski has not really been finished lately, but you got to go and take a look at who he's been facing. He's facing guys with just no heavyweight power, like Jake Collier doesn't have that heavyweight power. He's more of a volume guy. Jared Vandera, more of a volume guy. Carlos Felipe, more of a volume guy. Chase Sherman, he has some power, but he kind of sucks. Tanner Bozer, not a power guy. Philippe Lins, he has some power, but kind of sucks. And then Ben Rothwell. And you see when he's fighting guys with power, he's getting knocked out. Like Tai Tuivasa knocked him down. Francis Ngannou, if he has power, he knocked him out. Overeem knocked him out. Stipe knocked him out. When he's fighting these guys with power, he does get knocked out. And De Lima has a lot of power. So I think the knockout for De Lima is very live. Just want to double check this count. First round knockout win. So that's 1. First round knockout win. That's 2. First round knockout win. 3. Submission first round. 4. Knockout 5, 6. Yeah, so 6 wins in the first round. 5 of them are by first round knockout. I think he knocks out Arlovski in the first round, but if he doesn't, I mean, it's going to get interesting because De Lima has fallen off a cliff before after that first round. That's why I just think, like, if De Lima's having success in this fight and he's heavily favored to do so, he should be going out there and finishing Arlovski in the first round and a half. So I do like the fight doesn't go. I do like the under 2.5 rounds. I don't even mind the under 1.5 rounds because all of De Lima's wins that have finished inside the distance, they came under 1.5 rounds. And if this fight does get extended, there's a good chance Arlovski can pull off that upset, winning rounds 2 and rounds 3. Arlovski has not had a finish in a very long time. But, if De Lima, his cardio sometimes is very like a late Arlovski finish wouldn't completely shock me. It would shock me a little bit, but it wouldn't completely shock me because at the end of the day, De Lima has been finished like 6. He's been finished a ton of times, 6 times in his 8 losses. But I think the most likely scenario is that De Lima finish. If you like Arlovski, I'd recommend probably the decision or the decision only. But I'm personally on De Lima's side myself. But I would not be laying the minus 250 price tag. That's awful. That is awful. But give me De Lima for the win. On DraftKings, fading Arlovski, easiest fade up there with Caitlin Chukagian. I mean, this guy cannot score DraftKings points in a win. Like his upside's like 50 points. But I think he gets knocked out in the first round. So I'm not playing Arlovski, but I will be playing some De Lima. I think he has some high first round upside there. Mushroom with the Arlovski by decision. Yeah, what is Arlovski by decision? Plus 275. Yep, they are all over that one. Robaholic saying, yes, under 2.5. I took the under 2.5 Sunday at plus 135. Looks like me and you got about the same line there. It has moved a little bit. I think it's like plus 128 on FanDuel. I just hope De Lima completely disrespects Andre. Yeah, that's what he needs to do. Just like he completely disrespected Ben Rothwell. And by the way, Ben Rothwell had not been knocked out since 2009. Ben Rothwell, known for that just legendary durability, legendary chin. And De Lima ran through him. So I feel like that could definitely be the case here where De Lima goes out there and finishes Arlovski, who has not been finished in a while. He's not been fighting like heavy hitters. Andre saying, I fully support the idea of De Lima winning the fight. That was my first thought making predictions. Lima is finishing him. Arlovski loses his chin in this fight. Yeah, I think so as well. Third round prop is plus 900. You talking about Arlovski or can't be talking? Or you may be talking about Hooper there. If Andre wins, he will set a UFC record for most robbery wins in a row. Yeah. I mean, you take a look at Arlovski lately. I thought he lost the Collier fight. I thought he lost the Vandera fight. I thought he won the Felipe fight, but it was close, super close. And then I thought he won the Sherman fight. And then I thought he completely lost the Bozer fight. So yeah, a couple sketchy wins mixed in there for Arlovski. Wait a second. Garcia's only been knocked out once. I assumed there were multiple. Yeah, I believe it's only once. He did get knocked down a lot against Ontiveros. He did get knocked down a lot against Mahashadi, but I think Mahashadi was the first one to officially knock him out. Lima round 2 KO plus 750, or round 1. Yeah, I think if he does finish, it's round 1 or round 2. Arlovski decision only. I think that's a great look. Arlovski's going to dance around. That's what he does now. That's what he's going to try to do for sure. For sure. But yeah, we're in the small cage, but I do think does favor Lima there. He's not going to be able to dance around as much as he'd like. What's up, Bruno? Saying, hope you're good, my guy. Hope y'all do great this week. And tough card to bet big money on, but we'll get it done. Yeah, it is a tough card. I agree. Arlovski by split decision plus 1350. That's a great line. I think what was that on DK? I think on DK it was like plus 1100, something like that. But yeah, I mean that's how he wins, like a robbery type ish, like split decision type fight. I saw Arlovski decision plus 300 on DK. Others have 275. Yeah, around there. Any split decision plays on this card? This would be the one, honestly. This would be the fight. And I agree. Small cage also favors Rogerio. First round KO is on. It's live. It's there. It is there if he wants it. All right, we'll keep moving on. We have Josh Fremd going against Trey Gore. I do have a bet here, and I thought I would have a money line bet on Fremd. But this line movement's kind of wild. I'm not sure what's going on here because I don't really see many people on the Gore side, and why would they be? Gore is just disappointed in the UFC thus far. But money's been pouring in on him all week, which is always something to kind of think about. The reason I'm not pulling the trigger on Josh Fremd is the striking defense of the guy. Very, very hittable, open to being hit very hard. Kind of that tall man's defense. And Trey Gore, he hits hard. So I mean, if Gore wins this fight, it's probably by knockout. I do lean on the Fremd side. I think Fremd has more ways to win here. I think he can potentially mix in takedowns. Honestly, I don't see him having much success doing that. Gore's takedown defense is very good, and he does have some underrated grappling that we don't really get to see. But I think Fremd's very live to knock out Trey Gore. I went back and watched Fremd's fights, and there's a couple of these fights where he's going out there, he's just killing these guys. I mean, Fremd's power is no joke. I saw this one fight where he just kneed the guy a couple of times in the head, just cut him open bad. I mean, the guy was out for a couple minutes, and then there was another time where he landed a big shot, just starched this guy. I mean, Fremd's power is not being talked about enough. And if you're getting knocked out by Cody Brundage, the wrestler, something's wrong. So I think Fremd's very live to knock out Trey Gore. But on the flip side, Gore will have opportunities. One thing I did like in Gore's last fight against Brundage, although he did get knocked out, was he was coming forward. He was letting his hands go a little bit more. And I do expect Gore to be doing a lot more of that pressuring, a lot more of that volume. And that is going to, for one, give him opportunities. But two, it'll also give Fremd opportunities to counter and knock Gore out. So I think somebody's getting knocked out here. I like violence quite a bit. I think Gore's fighting for his job. I did post on YouTube. One of the YouTube shorts I did this week was the interview with Trey Gore. And he's motivated. He was very emotional. He knows that he's fighting for his job. I think he left his family to train at, where is he training? Fortis, I think. And he needs this win or he's cut. So yeah, weird line movement though. Very weird line movement. We now have Fremd around like the minus 145, 150 range, which is weird because I just don't see anybody on Gore. If you're on Gore in the chat, let me know because I really have not seen one person on Trey Gore. Somebody must know. I mean, is Fremd coming in here with a secret shoulder injury? Is Fremd's shoulder going to pop out 5 seconds into the fight? Because outside of that, this line movement doesn't really make sense to me unless somebody knows something, because something's got to be up. I see nobody on Trey Gore. But with all that said, my bet is violence. I can't trust the side here. I can't trust the striking defense of Fremd. I think both guys are live to finish. I think both guys are live to get finished. Both guys have been knocked out before. Both guys have a ton of power. I like the under 2.5 rounds. I got it at minus 122 for one unit, and it has moved a little bit. I think it's like minus 129, minus 130. So not a ton of line movement there, but I like it. I like the violence. The fight doesn't go. The under 2.5. I think somebody's getting finished in this matchup. From a DraftKings perspective, I think Fremd's a very intriguing option. I think Fremd's very live for a finish. I think he has some takedown ability. On the flip side, I think Trey Gore is a good dart throw this week. I don't think anybody's going to play him. And he has power, and Fremd does leave openings to be hit. So I like this fight from a DraftKings perspective as well. Should be a very fun fight. I'm looking forward to see if Trey Gore can go out there and snap this 2-fight losing streak and stay in the UFC. Mushroom saying Fremd inside the distance. Fight doesn't go under 2.5. Gore is terrible. Yeah, he's definitely looked terrible thus far in the UFC. Fremd by sub plus 950. And I'm leaning more knockout myself. But yeah, that sub is a popular play. I've seen that a lot. It's knockout or cut cut for sure, Gore. It's knockout or cut for Gore. Yes, there you go. I agree. People are betting emotionally on Gore when he isn't even that good. Why? I haven't seen anybody bet on Gore. So this line movement just doesn't make sense to me. Let's see here. Gore was talking about being a double champ in the UFC before his debut. I remember that. And I had a bet on Battle. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? I liked Gore before he had a breakdown at the presser. I don't know. Yeah, very emotional coming into this fight. Our friend Fremd looked a lot bigger at the weigh-ins. Yeah, the dude's like huge. He's like 6'4". Maybe books need money in on Gore to cover. Yeah, I don't know. Dan Levy said Gore knocked himself out by running into a wall in the back before a fight. Sounds about right. My goodness. If he's getting knocked out by a wall, best believe Josh Fremd is live to knock him out. I mean, if a wall could knock you out, I think Fremd could as well. Because Fremd hits like a wall. Fremd hits hard. Gore could be double chump someday. If they cry when they walk to the cage, I cash out or bet against them almost instantly. Highly emotional fighters always make me shy away from them. Makes sense. Gore can win any fight if he only threw more than 10 punches a fight. Yeah, he's skilled. It just doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't look great, but maybe he goes out there and puts it together. I don't know. But I'm gonna pick Fremd, but I like violence more than anything. All right, next we have the 1-800 Gambler fight of the night. Honestly, there's a couple of them, 1-800 Gambler fights. I mean, I would not bet on the Phil Hawes fight. I would not bet on we'll talk about the Roundtree. You don't want to bet on a Roundtree fight. That's never fun. But this fight, 1-800 Gambler fight of the week, Waldo Cortez Acosta going against Jared Vanderaa. And although it is the 1-800 Gambler fight of the week, it seems to be like the most talked about fight on the card, which is weird. Man, what a mess. I will not be betting on this fight. I would not even think about betting on this fight. If I was forced to bet anything on this fight, it would be the over 1.5 rounds. But even then, that would mean I would have to put money on this fight, which I don't really want to do. Jared Vanderaa has a legitimate path to victory. The only problem is Jared Vanderaa has some of the worst fight IQ you will ever see in your life. Jared Vanderaa was very happy to grapple with Alexei Oleinik, but in his next fight against Chase Sherman, shot 0 takedowns when we just saw Jake Collier take Sherman down and sub him instantly. Jared Vanderaa, to win this fight, I think he needs to go for takedowns, because if he does, he wins the fight. Jared Vanderaa actually, like, on top, his ground and pound's very good. He has that black belt in his back pocket. And Waldo Cortez Acosta, I've seen him taken down easily. So I get why people are taking the shot on Vanderaa, but at the same time, you can't trust this guy. I mean, this guy has horrible fight. I mean, did you see the mustache he was rocking? If you're making terrible decisions outside the cage, like rocking that horrible mustache, or painting your fingernails and your toenails black, how can you trust Jared Vanderaa to make a smart decision inside the cage? You just can't. And honestly, watching his interview was tough. I felt bad for the guy. Yeah, I'm not touching this fight. But it's a very popular fight to bet on. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of money on this fight, which is terrifying. I mean, this is one of those fights where if I had money on it, at the end of the night, I'd be looking myself in the mirror, just saying to myself, like, why would you bet on this fight? So yeah, I'm not betting it. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind both sides. Cortez Acosta, I think, has some knockout upside. Jared Vanderaa, I don't mind him as a pump play because the path is there. It's just, I don't think he's that smart, so I don't think he's going to take it. So, yeah, you will not catch me betting on this fight or even thinking about it. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it with no money on it whatsoever. All right. Mushroom Sand Vandera KO. I don't know about that. You think maybe like a TKO? I don't think Vandera has the best power, but maybe if he gets on top, he can pound him out. Barrett is the worst fighter in the UFC, and I agree because I thought Chase Sherman was the worst fighter in the UFC, but guess who lost to Chase Sherman? This guy did. So I have to agree with that, Jordan. The heavyweight fights are the women's MMA 1-800 gambler fights. Yes, sometimes. I mean, there's 3 heavyweight fights on this card, and this is definitely actually I think there's 2. But yeah, this is definitely the sketchiest one. Jared sucks. He's not that great. We have all lost money on Jared. Let me see if I've ever lost money on Jared. I've actually won money against him because I had Alexei Oleinik to win inside the distance, but I don't believe I've ever lost money on Jared Van Daren. Let me double check. So against Sherman, I did not bet that fight. Against Oleinik, I had Oleinik inside the distance. Did not bet on the Arlovski fight. Definitely did not bet Vandera against Romanov. Didn't bet the Tafa fight. And then I think I bet the under in the Spivak fights. I actually won money on his fights. I've never lost money on a Jared Vandera fight, which is surprising. Because yeah, a lot of money. If you're betting on Jared Vandera, you have lost on his fights, but luckily I've not been able to do that. Why is Vandera on a main card? Isn't he on a 4-fight skid? He's on a main card, and I'm not sure why he's on a main card. 4-fight skid, arguably the worst fighter in the UFC. Maybe they're trying to build up Waldo. I think that's what it is. This line is way too close for a guy on a 4-fight losing streak. Jared wins. I mean, the path's there. Costa is the side. I feel like there's no side in this matchup, personally. Remembering that time, he said he wanted to fight via breaking a leg with kicks. Jared said that? Prince saying, I don't think Jared knows his path to victory, Brady. He shoots on Oleinik, but not Sherman. What? Yeah, and another thing, I was watching his interview, and he was talking about he doesn't watch like a lot of tape on his opponents, which, yeah, it can make sense to me. So there's a good chance he did not watch tape on Acosta and does not know that his takedown defense kind of sucks. So we'll see. Hard to stay away. I agree. Prop Hawks saying Brady Vandera loses, and when I see it on my track bets, I'm going to break some. Yeah, I've been there before. I will not be there this Saturday. I'm late. What's your most confident play? Nothing really too confident this week, but I don't mind Rodriguez inside the distance. And there's another play I like in the co-main event. No, you mentioned Zero Wrestling. We'll talk about the main event in a second. All right, so we'll move on to the next fight. We have Dustin Jacoby going against Khalil Roundtree. We got Jacoby minus 175, Roundtree plus 150. I learned a long time ago to not bet on Khalil Roundtree fights. Khalil Roundtree fights are some of the toughest fights to bet on, to pick, make a prediction. Because this guy is just so hit or miss. Sometimes he shows up, he looks phenomenal, lights out, looks like a killer. And sometimes he shows up and loses a 3-round decision against Marcin Prachnio, which is inexcusable, unforgivable. But he's looked good his last 2 fights. He went out there and Starge Pukauskas almost finished him in the first. Hurt his leg bad in the second. Against Roberson, finished him in the second as well. Looked good. And Jacoby, I get why he's favored here. He should be favored. I think he's the better fighter. I think he's the minute winner. But if Roundtree does show up, the guy's dangerous and the guy hits like a truck. So I think Roundtree's super live, but I retired from betting Khalil Roundtree fights. I mean, these are the type of fights where you don't want to bet on this guy. Just inconsistent is the word for Khalil Roundtree. Sometimes he looks phenomenal. Sometimes he looks very bad. So I just don't know which Roundtree is going to show up. That's kind of the narrative with him, and rightfully so. Just hard to bet money on this guy's fight. So yeah, passing here. Draftkings is kind of where I'll get my exposure. I think Jacoby, he can win a decision here, potentially even finish Roundtree. Roundtree's been finished 3 times. And then Roundtree, if he wins, it's going to be by finish. He's finished all of his wins, I believe, outside of one. And the one he didn't finish, he knocked down Eric Anders like 4 times. So Yeah, not touching this fight from a betting perspective. I think it's gonna be a fun fight, but more so from a Draftkings perspective for me. I'll pick Roundtree for the upset, but you can't have any confidence in this guy at all. Roundtree by KO. Yeah, that's how he wins. That is how he wins. Um, Uriah Hall equals Roundtree. Good comparison. Jacoby round 3 decision. Khalil or pass? Yeah, I'm passing. I mean, I think, like I said, Jacoby should be favored, but that's a hefty price tag to land the guy. MT saying live betting, you can see in his eyes when he's angry, but he's really there. Yeah, I mean, like Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast posted, he posted 2 different pictures. One where Roundtree looked terrifying, and I remember having a bet on Carl Roberson in that fight, and I saw the cameraman get in Roundtree's face, and I knew it was over right then. It was over. But yeah, sometimes you can see he's kind of like uninterested, and yeah, so maybe live betting's the way to look. Andre said, I once said on your stream, Brady, that Jacoby is finishing Da Un Jung in the first round. If I'm not mistaken, it was the first loss for Jung. It could have been the first loss, but I know for a fact it was the first knockout loss. Da Un Jung is super durable. So, yeah, we can't sleep on the power of Jacoby as well. Jacoby should just wrestle him. I don't know if he'll do that. Don't hate the fight doesn't go. I don't hate it as well. What is it? Oh, my gosh. It's like minus 190. I don't really like that price tag, but I could see it finishing. Bob Hollick saying I have the over 1.5 at minus 145 for a unit, and I'm grabbing my pants, but I think it'll be slow in the first round. Both will respect each other's power. My hedge with the fight ends in round 2. Yeah, I think it's one of those where it hits, but you'll be sweating. Roundtree either kicks the living crap out of you or just shows up looking like a clueless chump. You couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, Mushroom, good luck. Good luck to your Phillies. Good luck to your Phillies. I will not be watching, but I'll probably check in and see what happened later in the night. Khalil looked like an assassin in his last fight, which means he will look like I don't know, because in his last 2 fights he's looked like an assassin. So maybe he can put three in a row here. All right, we will move on to the next fight. Here we have Max Griffin going against Tim Means, the co-main event, and I do have a bet here that I do like. And it is going to be the finish only, aka the scorecards equals no action on Bet Online for one Max Griffin. Both guys are very solid finishers. But it's the big difference for me is the durability. One of these guys are very durable, and that's Max Griffin. Max Griffin only been knocked out once. I believe it was his debut against Colby Covington. Other than that, 8 decision losses for Max Griffin. Whereas on the flip side, Tim Means, he's 38 years old, almost 39. The guy has 46 fights. He's taken a ton of damage throughout his career, and that damage is starting to add up. I did not like how he was reacting to shots against Daniel Rodriguez, a guy in Daniel who is a phenomenal fighter, but he's more of a volume guy. He's not really like a one-punch murderous power puncher, and he was getting stung with like every shot that D-Rod was landing. D-Rod hurt him bad at the end of the first round, and then in the second round, D-Rod got that club and sub. Same thing in the Holland fight. Holland hurt him very bad at the end of the first round, almost got him out of there. Second round comes around, Holland lands a big shot. Tim Means shoots in, and another club and sub loss for Tim Means. So, I mean, the durability is just not there for Tim Means, which is weird to say because at one point, Tim Means was super durable. A couple of years ago, he was super durable, but as of late, I don't think that durability is here. And, Max Griffin's a guy that typically is a decision guy, especially earlier in his career, but he's always had some solid power. But, and it's weird, at 36 years old now for Max Griffin, the power is starting to finally translate. And Max Griffin, quite frankly, looks career best at 36. And it's weird to say that, but I mean, he only has 27 fights. Tim Means has 19 more fights at 46. So, I just feel like both these guys are at 2 different points in their career. Max Griffin, although he is 36, he looks freaking good, and Tim Means just looks on his way out. So I like Griffin here to win. I think the knockout's very live. Max Griffin has either hurt or finished his opponents in his last 4 or so fights. He knocked down Neil Magny. He knocked down Carlos Condit, almost finished him. He knocked out Song Kanan, and then he took Ramiz Brahimaj's ear off. So I think the finish is live for Max Griffin. But yeah, I have 1.5 units on that scorecards, no action for Griffin. I just think he's the much more durable fighter. If this fight does go to decision, and that's the reason I do like that scorecards, no action, because if it goes to decision, I think it could be close. I like the striking, the volume, the well-roundedness of Tim Means. I just don't think he can take a shot at this point. So I like Max Griffin to win. I'll say by knockout, but that finish only is something I do have 1.5 units on. I just don't think Tim Means can take a shot at this point of his career. He's saying I got the Khalil finish only. I don't think it's a terrible look. It's like plus 150 or so. But Jacoby, he can hit hard himself. Griffin TKO, I'm right there with you. Tim Means about to turn back the clock and cost everyone who bet on the favorite their money. Wouldn't completely shock me. I didn't think he looked amazing at the weigh-ins. He looked kind of old. But he's a good fighter. I still don't trust the durability. Means came close with that grimace to Griffin. I really, really like fighter Griffin. He is so technical, just been so good lately. Yeah, he's been really good. He's been really good. Career best for Max Griffin. Griffin via Superman punch. Means by decision. Means resurgence like a Sunsal. If Means wins, I think is by decision, which is plus 290. Dirty Bird is washed. Wouldn't say complete. He's getting there. He's getting there. Sean saying he's washed. Got the Griffin money line sprinkled rounds 2 and rounds 3. I can never find the finish only on DK. So for some reason they took it off the app. So for now, to see the finish only on DK, you got to go like on your computer. I think I don't know if it's like the browser, but I'm on Chrome and it shows up every time. But yeah, on the app nowadays, it's not showing up. And he did. I think one of the first knockouts, taking somebody's ear off in the UFC, which is interesting. All right, main event time. We are doing great on time. We have one fight to talk about, and then we'll go over my bets, and we'll get out of here. We have Arnold Allen going against Calvin Kattar, and last week was on a little bit of an island on the Bilal side, and I kind of feel the same way here. I feel like Calvin Kattar's getting disrespected a little bit, and Arnold Allen's a phenomenal fighter. Don't get me wrong, this kid's good. He's very good. But there's a lot of question marks on the Arnold Allen side. The first question mark is, what does he look like in the 4th or 5th round? We don't know. And on the flip side, we know that Calvin Kattar, he can go to the 4th and 5th round, no problem. Calvin Kattar's in phenomenal shape. He's been to decision his last 4 fights. Those 4 fights were all 25 minutes. We know for a fact Kattar can go 25 minutes. Whereas Arnold Allen, I went back and watched some of his fights, and he's slowing down in 3rd rounds. The Yusuf fight, I don't know if he was like hurt in that fight or what was up, but he looked awful in the 3rd round. The guy landed 2 strikes in the 3rd round against Sadiq Yusuf. So if the fight gets to the 4th and the 5th round, how is Arnold Allen going to look? So that is a big question mark for me. The next question mark is the step up in competition. Calvin Kattar has fought the who's who in the division. Calvin Kattar's fought guys like Giga Chikadze, who everybody loved Giga. Everybody loved Giga. Giga was everybody's favorite fighter. And I went back and watched that fight, and I can't believe he did that to Giga Chikadze. And I was always like the biggest Giga hater out there. I thought he was a fraud, and I don't think that anymore. And I was not expecting Calvin Kattar to go out there and 50-45 Giga Chikadze on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, and then 50-40 form on another. What he did to Giga was disgusting. It was a disgusting performance against a very high-level striker in Giga. But yeah, he's fought Josh Emmett, Giga Chikadze, Max Holloway, Dan Ige, Zabit, Jeremy Stevens, Moicano, Shane Burgos, Andre Feely. He's fought very good competition, whereas Arnold Allen, who's the Sadiq Yusuf, Dan Hooker has looked awful lately. I think Dan Hooker's towards the end of his career. Nick Lenz, Gilbert Melendez, who was on a 5 or 6 fight skid. Jordan Rinaldi, Mads Burnell, Maricani. It's a big step up in competition for Arnold Allen. So that's another question mark I have. And then the third question mark is the volume. I don't see Arnold Allen putting up the same numbers Calvin Kattar does. I just don't. Calvin Kattar has some of the best volume in the division, landing 5.19 strikes per minute, whereas Arnold Allen, he's landing 3.31. I go back to the Yusuf fight. The guy landed 21 strikes in 15 minutes, 10 in the first round, 9 in the second round, and 2 in the third. Like, that's not going to cut it against Calvin Kattar. So in terms of the numbers, I think Calvin Kattar is going to be able to outstrike this guy. And of course, Arnold Allen could land a big shot. And I think for Allen to win this fight, he's going to have to do something that's never happened before. And that thing that's never happened is Calvin Kattar getting knocked down. Calvin Kattar's never been knocked down, which is wild considering he's absorbed a million strikes. Or B, knocking out Calvin Kattar, which definitely has not happened. And maybe it does. Maybe Arnold Allen is the first one to do so. But I got to count on that durability of Kattar. So I like the durability of Kattar. I like the volume of Kattar. I like the 5-round experience of Kattar. I like the experience in general. I like the level of competition of Kattar. So after all that, why is this fight a pick'em? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. I think it's a lot of hype. I think Arnold Allen is a very hyped up fighter, and rightfully so. And I think he deserves a step up, but I think the wrong guy is favored here. So I did take a half unit shot on Calvin Kattar at plus 102. Was potentially going to add more if the line got any better, and it didn't. It kind of came back in. The line's been weird all week. It's been first it was Kattar favored, then Allen, and now it's a pick'em. I don't think I'm going to get a better number there. So I'm sticking with my half unit shot on Kattar plus 102. I still see a plus 102 out there on Unibet and Bet Rivers, and I see a plus 100 on Caesars. But yeah, I do like the Calvin Kattar side. Another probably unpopular pick, another pick where I'm going against the grain, but give me Calvin Kattar to get it done. I think people are forgetting about Calvin Kattar. I know he lost in his fight against Josh Emmett. I was there. I thought he won, but the performance before that against Giga is real. I mean, that was impressive. So give me a Kattar for the win. If Allen knocks him out, he knocks him out. So be it. But he'd have to be the first one to do so. All right. See what we got in the chat here. Calvin Kattar all day. I think the finish is live too. Yeah, I was like leaning the overs and the fight goes in this fight until I watched back that Giga fight. I think if anybody else was in that fight other than Giga or like a Max Holloway, I mean, he would have finished him. I mean, he put a clinic on Giga Chikadze. He was like spamming like elbows towards the end of the fight. I don't know how Giga survived that. 5 rounds tough for Allen. Yeah, in a 3-round fight, I think I probably honestly would still pick Kattar, but I think I'd be a lot less confident. Dan Hooker was draining that fight. Yeah, he looked bad. He looked very bad. The way you beat Kattar is with pressure, and that just isn't Allen. Dude is a counter puncher. He did do a lot of pressuring, and he threw a ton of volume in that Hooker fight, but man, that's Dan Hooker. I don't know. Kattar's skin splitting elbows could lead to a late doctor stoppage. I don't mind the late finish look for Kattar. I'm personally leaning decision, but man, late finish could be live if Allen does slow down. Kattar's going to land 100. He's going to land a lot, I think. Understand, I will take Kattar for the win. I don't think it'll be easy, but he edges the decision. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy as well, especially early on. I thought Arnold hasn't fought 5 rounds yet, and it is a problem for Kattar. Could Kattar get a finish here? I think he could, but I think it'd be late if anything. I had a bet on Arnold, but chased it out after seeing him at the weigh-ins. Yeah, honestly, he did not look great. But not too worried about it, but he did not look great. The Kattar 1-2 is money. Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. Allen actually opened up as an underdog. The bookies know what's up. Let me see. Allen did open up as a pretty big dog, plus 150. Calvin Kattar opened up as a minus 175 favorite. So yeah, money has came in on Allen ever since. Trying to stay safe by just spreading the overs. Yeah, I think over 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 are all solid. I'd be a little scared about laying that over 2.5 though. I'm live betting Kattar in the second round. That's a good look. Austin finisher 4th round KO. Appreciate you, Mushroom. Andre saying crazy how someone put 250K on Manon by finish last week. I was like, OMG. I was like, oh no. Oh no. Why would somebody do that? Allen did not look good on the scales. He will gas. He's gassed before. He has gassed before. Ooh, that's a good look. Kattar by a decision. The 4-5 decision for Kattar on FanDuel, I think, is plus 175. That could be interesting. Be very interesting. And Jan saying I have Kattar to win. Kattar more significant strikes. And the over 2.5 plus 160. Yeah, that's good. I mean, if Kattar wins, he's going to have more significant strikes. I think he has more significant strikes easily. I'd be shocked if Allen outdid him in terms of the numbers. All right. Smash that like button and subscribe. I agree, Mushroom. All right, guys. I'll quickly go over my bets and I don't have a ton of action. I think, like I said, it's a sketchy card. I'm keeping my action light this week. Tread lightly on some of these. I mean, you do not want to be betting on a Khalil Roundtree fight. You do not want to be betting on a Jared Vandermeer fight. You really don't want to be betting on a Lima fight, but I have a bet there. You don't want to be betting on a Phil Hawes fight. I mean, some sketchy fighters that are very untrustworthy. But the bets I have a half unit shot on Kattar, plus 102. I'll probably add on if the line does get any better, but I don't really expect it to. We'll see. The Max Griffin scorecards equals no action on Bet Online, minus 180, 1.5 units. I believe that line is still there. The under 2.5 rounds, Trey, Gore, Josh Fremd, 1 unit minus 122. Under Arlovski, Marcos de Lima, under 2.5 rounds, plus 136, 1 unit on that. 1 unit on the Christian Rodriguez inside the distance, plus 106. And then a half unit on the Hooper inside the distance, plus 100. That is my action. Hoping for some violence, hoping for some fun fights, keeping it light, short and sweet this week. We have a lot of fights next week. The card kind of sucks, it looks like, for next week, but I'm sure we can find some more spots for next week. And then we have UFC 281 already coming up in about 2 weeks. So I'm going to start getting ahead, researching UFC Vegas 64 soon. And yeah, a couple spots already sticking out for that card. So see any final things in the chat here. Brady, 3 most confident finish picks. So in terms of like the fights finishing, I like Fremd Gore to finish. I like Hooper Garcia to finish a decent amount. I like the Rodriguez Weems fight to finish. I think those would be my 3. And then up there is like I think the Lima fight very well could finish. I think the Hawes fight could very well finish. Even like the Roundtree fight could finish. And then of course the heavyweight Acosta Vandermeer fight. My 3 are probably the Fremd Gore, the Hooper Garcia, and the Rodriguez Weems. Oh, and also the Durden fight I think can finish as well. All right. I don't know. I'll be watching it, but I'm not putting any bet on it. Anderson, a plus 160 dog. I could have swore I saw him at a like plus 200 on a book though. So yeah, I'll be watching it, but you will not see me betting on that fight. In terms of pick, I don't know. I'll be rooting for Anderson Silva, but I'm not getting my hopes up. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Leave a like, subscribe. Let's get those likes up, and follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. Going to start putting a lot more content out on Instagram, some video content out on there. Other than that, going live 1 hour prior to the prelims tomorrow around 3 o'clock Eastern. And yeah, should be a fun card. Be careful. I mean, be careful. I mean, don't put all your money on Jared Vandermeer. It's sketchy, but enjoy the card, guys. It's gonna be fun. Best of luck. See you soon. And yep, see you guys later.